Hello everyone, this is Mujin speaking. For this video, I'll be doing it in multiple parts compiled into one. I'll be studying a few of Master ChengWei's splash art, and I'll try to break down his composition process based on my own understanding and hypothesis. This does not reflect how he truly thinks. I think this is a great opportunity to share with everybody how I think, and maybe some of you can learn something from it, and I think it helps some of us who are struggling to break down beautiful artworks at least have some sort of template so they know where to start and how to break down certain things, what is there to learn and what is there to notice, and they probably can use it in their own artworks. So with that, let me recap some points that I talked about in my previous video. But before that, I wish I could do a better job, probably in the stitching part, but I really don't have time. I mean, it's 12 AM right now, and yep. So anyways, so for my previous video, I always talk about identifying the lighting. So we talk about mid key, right, which is like mid brightness, mid darkness, low key, which is like very dark, high key, which is like very bright. We talk about perspective, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, rhythm, what elements help lead the eye, and usually we read from left to right, and the subject elements, whether it's defined, whether it's loose, whether it's graphically clear or graphically loose, which means like which stands out, which doesn't stand out, which is very detailed, which is not so detailed, and the focal point, the subject focus versus the non-focal points. Obviously there's like the main attraction and the non-main attraction. Usually the focal point is where the character is, where the face is, and that's where the strongest contrast is. Take note of positive and negative space in the subject elements. Usually positive and negative space help give a sense of depth. And when we think in 2D shapes, it also forces us to come up with interesting subject elements like triangles, quads, to better make our composition more exaggerated. I'll try to talk more about this in the upcoming parts, and not to forget our angles of shapes and space, and last but not least, the big, medium, small relationship in every picture. Right, so before that, let me find something. Right, so this is Master ChengWei's artwork. This is his art station. He used to work for Riot Games as a principal illustrator. He's really good at storytelling, and I think there's a lot to learn, or rather we can learn a lot from him. Yep, that's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, so I talk about the threshold and how we apply threshold on a certain image to arrive at this point, and this is the grayscale composition that I'm going to look at. So I put the images side by side. So when we look at the grayscale, this is a low-key lighting, and the light source comes from the top right, and this is a bit of the warm eye view where the horizon line is below the middle line. This is probably to make the image more dynamic when we are looking at it from a worm's eye view. And then when we notice the talisman, so as we can see, this talisman, it forms a triangle and it leads our eye from left to right, and with the hair helping us flowing our eyes towards this direction, and then in a circular motion. So our eyes will be always looking in a circular motion from left to right. And when we threshold the image, and as you can see, there's a lot of black and white relationships here, making this the strongest contrast point, which is at the face and at the chest area, which is the selling point for a lot of artworks. And I noticed that there's a star-shaped composition here, which really stands out because triangles are usually very dynamic, and with double triangle it really makes the subject pops out. And as I state below, the loose details are at the talismans compared to the focal point, which is the face. And then let's look at the negative space versus the positive space. So as this is a low-key lighting, the character is mostly a positive space compared to the entire background, which is a negative space, the white space, as you can see. And as the image leads from left to right, there's lots of positive space here, and it contrasts with the negative space in the background, followed by the character, which has lots of positive space in the middle. And this is also a clear case of dark silhouette versus a bright background, as we can see here. So this really makes the character stands out. And if you want to have a sense of depth, this is where you add mist along as well. And notice the talisman. This is the furthest away, that's why it's the smallest. This is the nearest to us, that's why it's the biggest. And interestingly enough, the character and the prop has a big medium small relationship. As we can see, the subject being the largest here, followed by its weapon, followed by its mask. So there's a big medium small relationship here. So to recap, low-key lighting with composition flowing from left to right, warm side view, strongest contrast being the center point here, big medium small relationship of the character, followed by the weapon, followed by its mask. The talisman forms another triangular composition with the largest one closest to us and the furthest away from us being the smallest, forcing some sort of three-dimensional Z-depth. And with the added mist, it really makes the character stands out and looks like there's some sort of sense of volume inside. Okay, let's look at example number 2. I wonder if art schools these days teaches students how to study compositions. If not, let me try to do whatever I can to help serve the community. Right, second example. Right, so this is one of his fan art. Again, with the 3 settings. And as we can see in grayscale mode, this is a mid-key lighting where it's not too bright and not too dark. A lot of lighting comes from the top right. And there's some lighting that comes from the bottom left. Mid-key lighting, yes, lighting that comes from the bottom left back. Let me see, what am I talking about? Oh, sorry. What I meant was the lighting that comes from the planet here. And then we have an obvious lighting that shines on the character from the top right, which, as you can see, it's around here. So the lighting from the back affects the thigh area, while the lighting from the top right touches the face and the back. And as when we do the threshold, we can see that the strongest contrasting point is at the face and at the torso, the back of the torso. So this is good, because we now know where our eyes should be focusing on. And not to mention, the weapon has a secondary strongest contrast point followed by its wings. As you can see that the background is dark, followed by its weapon, which is bright. And as a result, you get another triangular composition shape. So it really, and if I expand it, You see another triangle here, and if I expand it some more, as you can see, another triangles. So triangles are really the strongest element in compositions. And if I did, so for this particular example, I did a silhouetting, and as we can see, yes, although I did say that we usually read from left to right, but there's a strong directional pull that pushes my eye to look from this direction to this direction. And not to mention that there's the ribbon here that forces my eye to read from right to left. And with this directional point of the structure, it pushes me to look up. And with the hair, it forces me to look from left to right. So although this is the starting point, all in all, I'll still be looking in a circular motion. So another point to take note is, all my case studies, as much as I want to make them similar, there will be times where I do things differently. And I think it's important to be able to adapt that mindset so that we will not stiffen up and be more open-minded to learning new things and experimenting with more things. And Z-depth is important because it allows us to give a span of space. So as we can see, the ribbon here is flowing in, but what's protruding out is its hand and this ribbon. So it goes in, it goes out, and goes and starts to come out again as the size is bigger. So this allows us to know that there's some Z-depth going on. And this torso is obstructing the space station, and the space station is being blurred out, so you know that the character is in front of the space station, giving it a sense of Z-depth. Although I did mention about the arrows that pushes me to look from this direction to this direction, it also seems that there's an inverse C shape that pushes, because of the inverse C shapes, it pushes my eye to read from left to right as well. So there's some sort of balance going on. And interestingly enough, we can see there's white, there's dark, 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 there's white, there's dark. There's white, there's dark, there's white, and there's dark. So there is a clear rhythm of white and dark relationships. And I think what he did really well is to leave a triangle here, because if he was to fill up something here, if he was to fill up something here and here, or maybe here, but most importantly, if he was to add something in these 2 points, it will really mess with my Z-depth. So negative spaces here are really a good thing. So props to him for doing that. Probably he has already planned it in his head way in advance before all this. And also there's a very interesting, not only to mention there's an inverse C curve, there's also this planet silhouette which forces our eye to look in this certain direction. So all in all, regardless of which direction you look at, I think we'll still be looking in a circular motion. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me do another one. And that will be the end of part 1 after I'm done with this. We shall see. Okay, example number 3, vehicle. Right. So, Control I. So this is a low-key lighting, and the light source comes from the top left. As we can see, this is where a lot of impacted areas are. Right. and the ambient light source coming from the top that helps with this composition as well. And we are at a worm's eyes perspective where we look up, and probably in your language we want to make him look edgy. That's why this is being done in a Dutch angle. So let me, you know what, I'm not very good at English either, so Dutch angle, what is a Dutch angle? So let's ask Professor Google. Anyways, a Dutch angle, also known as a Dutch tilt or chanted angle, is a camera shot where the camera is tilted on its x-axis, creating a disorientating or uneasy feeling for the viewer. So here are some movies. As from my understanding, Dutch angle is to make things even more scary, or even more epic, or even edgier. So to talk about Z-depth again, the leg here is forward, so therefore it's bigger in size, and the leg here, it's away from us, that's why it's smaller. This arm here is bigger, this arm here is smaller, so there's Z-depth going on, as you can see. And we talk about size. This character fills up quite a big portion of the composition, making it stand out. And we add mist in an image between its throne and the character to make them, to include some separation. Not to mention that there's stairs, which pushes our eyes to look from left to right as well. So as I mentioned here, the blue lines consist of the subject element of the character and its weapon. The purple lines talk about the Z-depth of the character. And the orange lines represents the composition pull from this direction. The stairs, its effect, the slanted building, the rocks falling down, so we can see a circular motion here. And because I said that this is a warm eye view, we can see the direction of the buildings going in this direction, making it look more dynamic. So a warm eye view perspective makes the character appear more dynamic or powerful, along with a slight tilt, which is probably, in more accurate to say, a Dutch angle. It makes the character look more menacing. Yes, I finally found the word menacing. Edgy, menacing, on edge, scary, yeah, epic, more dynamic. So this is where you start to use Dutch angle. So I couldn't, let me find Dutch. There's probably a YouTube video that's good for it, Dutch angle. You know, this video, how to use Dutch angle shot by Studio Binder. This is the best Dutch angle video I watched in my life that probably can explain even way better than me. And yep, camera angles, the ultimate guide, best videos. Yep. Oh, origin story time. So I talk about focus on the throne. The sword directs the viewer's gaze towards the throne, so emphasizing that his origin, which I think you guys know what it is. That is, how do I better describe? vehicle origin. Yep, so he is a king in a long forgotten kingdom, and the sword leads us to his throne. And once again, the high contrast when you try to show the image is in the face and its abs. Yep. So this probably really sells really well. And not to mention, the contrast between the chair, which is here, and the sword stands out as well. So strong contrast point 1, strong contrast point 2 really makes the character stand out. And not to mention the elements at play: darker element, white element, darker element, dark element, brighter element, darker element, bright element, darker element, white element, darker element, brighter element, darker element, darker element, brighter element, darker element for the chair. So there's a set of rules here, and there's a set of rules here. Right, it's close to midnight. Oh wait, sorry, it's already midnight, and I'm really trying to churn out time to do all this. I'm sorry if it comes out really off, but as you can see, as much as I try to be uniform about it, but there are times where I do things differently. So take note that not all your studies have to be that rigid. Do take note that you're free to write down your own thoughts, be experimentative, and have your own say. At the end of the day, are you able to convince yourself that it's correct, it's useful, and are you able to add value to your own understanding? Well, that's the end of part 1 for today.